Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and I am podcasting live from the World Innovation Summit for Education, WISE 2023 in Doha, Qatar. And I have someone with me now that I think I can pronounce his name correctly, so I'm going to try to do it. His name is David Timis. Yes, I got it?
Very good.
Nice. And he is Global Communications and Public Affairs Manager at Generation. How you doing?
All good. It's been a busy past 2 days for both of us, I'm sure.
It has been pretty busy. Okay, so tell us all about Generation.
Okay, where should I start? So Generation is, the way I pitch it in Brussels, Belgium, where I'm based,
Yeah, okay.
is, the way I pitch it, because most people haven't heard of Generation. And
No.
what I usually ask people is, well, what's the biggest employment profit that you probably never heard of? Well, it's Generation. We're in the
Really?
business of changing people's lives. We work with vulnerable people in 18 countries across 5 continents
Wow.
to reskill them and prepare them for jobs that will allow them to have a sustainable income.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So how do you find these people?
So the people we target, to even sort of be more specific, it's individuals from the ages of 18 to 60 plus that are coming from a vulnerable background. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That means that 90% of them are unemployed when they come to us, and not just unemployed for like a week, but like for 6 months or more, so long-term unemployed.
Oh, wow.
Around 60% have only high school education or less.
Yeah.
And very importantly, around 40 to 45% have dependents, have mouths to feed.
Wow.
So they reach out to us, or we reach out to them in different ways. So we use obviously social media, word of mouth. We work a lot with workforce development agencies in different countries we're present in that are swamped with requests from people that need reskilling or employment support, and they funnel them to us so we can help them instead.
Sure.
And we collaborate a lot with NGOs, companies to really together reskill vulnerable people that otherwise society has left behind for different reasons.
Gotcha. So how do you do that exactly? Walk us through the whole process.
Yeah, so the first step, which is, because this is actually a very, very good question, because we're an employment nonprofit, even though some of the keywords I said so far are skilling and skills and so on. We're an employment nonprofit. We're not in the business of doing reskilling for reskilling's sake, which is nice for you and I.
Sure, of course.
But for many people in the world who don't have, again, in some cases, food to put on the table, it's like, no, reskilling, I cannot have time or definitely funding for that.
Yeah.
So what we do is we first discuss with employers and ask them, what jobs are hard to fill in your company?
Oh, okay.
Show us what an ideal employee in this role does.
Yeah.
Then we go back, and together, in some cases, even with the employer themselves, we design a curriculum focused to prepare in 3 months in a bootcamp format
Oh, I like that.
a person for exactly that kind of a jobs, be it a cloud engineer role or a solar panel installer, because we do both tech jobs, green jobs, and as well healthcare, customer service and sales, and even skilled trades, so more hands-on jobs.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great.
So that's the key step. We have 6 more, but I'm happy to lead them.
No,
from
keep going. I like it. Yeah, I like this. This is great. Yeah.
The first step is the speaking with employers, designing the curriculum, then reaching out to learners, as I said, ourselves, that we recruit and interview. And because it's a free program, that
it's free?
It's free. It's totally free.
Whoa,
We even
cool.
We even give people stipends for transport, childcare, and food, because
No way.
the category of
That's
individuals we work with, we just don't want to give them any excuse to drop out or not to choose the program.
I like that. That's a good call.
It's fully funded. You just have to come,
No
and we even give you a job.
Yeah.
So we have to interview them to really select people who have the highest chances of graduating, because it is fairly intense.
Yeah.
We look for something that is actually quite funny. I think our CEO coined the term. It's fire in the belly.
Fire in the belly.
So we look for people who really have the motivation to really get out of the situation they're in.
Yeah.
And we are there to lend a hand, and to really help them get the foot in the door with the companies we work with.
Yeah.
Then after we interview them, we go for the 3 months program, in which, very importantly, we don't just teach them to code or to install solar panels. We also equip them with behavioral and mindset skills.
Oh, I like that.
So basically, because we live in a very flexible or volatile, some would say, economy and labor market, we don't want them to come back to us in 2 years saying, oh, Generation, I need another job because I just lost the one, or I didn't like it for some reason.
That makes sense.
We want them to be independent, and for them to chart their own career paths afterwards.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that's another key element. And to jump a bit through the steps, another probably, so we find them the job, and usually 85% of people graduate. This is a global average. 75% find a job within 3 months.
Nice.
That number jumps to 90% 6 months later after graduation.
Yeah.
And even more importantly, because we do alumni surveys, 6 years later, 70% of our graduates are still in the job.
The same job.
Or in the same industry at least.
Same industry. Okay, got it.
So we prepared them for something that is sustainable.
Yeah.
And why is this? Probably one of the secrets we have is that whilst in the training we equip them with soft skills, as I said, and the hard skills.
Yeah.
And very importantly, this is an element that many other nonprofits and organizations forget. When you reskill somebody, you prepare them for a completely new industry.
Yeah.
So what we do is we find them the job, we get them, through the interview, and then we mentor them because it's a career transition. They
yeah.
used to maybe have a job in a factory or on a
Yeah.
supermarket floor,
Yeah.
and now we prepare them to be cloud engineers. You cannot just good luck. You cannot do that. You really
That's a
have
big
to
jump.
handheld people in the
Yeah.
job. And the key here is we don't do it ourselves as generation staff. We actually employ, quote unquote, their volunteers, generation graduates that have been placed in the same
That's
industry
cool.
who know the stories in some
Yeah.
cases of the people who just graduate, let's say yesterday.
Yeah.
And they can, for up to a year, help mentor the person who's now joining maybe a different company but the same industry
Yeah.
and has been through the same process.
Yeah. So it's like a circle. Yeah.
It's the full circle is, and that's
Yeah.
for us the biggest success story is when a generation graduate doesn't just mentor somebody, and we have success stories like this.
Yeah.
A generation graduate hiring 20 people
that's
because
even better.
they were hired entry level.
That's
They're now
a
a
good
manager, and they're like, I need generation graduates. Let's hire 20.
Wow.
And this
Yeah.
happened in Kenya and Pakistan and all sorts of countries we operate in.
That's cool. So bootcamp style, how many students you taking in? How often are these happening?
This
How's
is
it
a
work?
great question, but one that I cannot personally answer because in every country we operate in, the model is a bit different. So
Okay. Okay.
it also depends on what we teach them, because in solar panel jobs or more hands-on jobs, the program is done mostly offline. Whilst teaching people cloud engineering skills, we have quite a lot of online
Yeah.
component to those programs, which means more people can join the program.
Yeah.
So it really varies depending on the country and the way we run our operations there, and at the end of the day the industry we prepare people for, because for some you really need maybe a 10 people or 15 people in a solar panel class, since you need personal private attention for everybody. Was in a more tech related role, it's maybe a bit more bigger class would do much better.
I see. So it's a combination of in-person classes, hybrid.
It's hybrid.
Yeah, online. Okay, gotcha. Oh, that's super interesting. So how long have you been around?
So Generation has been around for around 8 years.
Oh, okay, great.
The reason we're still, as I started the conversation, a bit unknown is because we were actually the first ever McKinsey social initiative. So actually Generation was a pilot project launched by our CEO, who's actually also the founding partner within McKinsey, or used to be when she worked for McKinsey, who founded the education practice.
Yeah.
She was intrigued by this question of how can we bridge the education to employment gap?
Yeah.
So she leveraged the fact that she was at this organization that enabled her to pilot the project like this, to do research on it.
Yeah.
Then she saw, when we piloted in, I think initially Kenya, Spain, India, and the US, that this works, and the same 7-step methodology can work globally.
Yeah.
Then she said, let's spin off, let's call it Generation, and let's attract now funding and partners from public private sector organizations from around the world.
Wow.
McKinsey being still one of them, along a long list of many others.
Wow. Now, have you been with the Generation since the beginning?
No, I wish. I mean, to be honest, I know them since the beginning because I used to work at Google. And funny enough, in Spain, Google used to be a partner. And I managed in Romania, my home country, because I'm originally from Romania, I managed Grow with Google, which is Google's global initiative. And as they call it in Spain, Google Activate, the equivalent, was working with Generation in Spain as the curriculum partner for digital marketing. So as a Googler, I found out this cool organization, which is at the time was still part of McKinsey. This cool project is doing great work. I would love to work there. And maybe as a personal anecdote, which is a funny one, since 2015, I messaged my current manager every year, at least once or twice, asking, is there a chance to volunteer for Generation? Is there a chance to work for Generation? And in October 2020, when I got yes, I closed the message because I thought it's just another no. It was actually yes. So I work, to go back to your question, I work for Generation for close to 3 years now.
Oh, okay. Got it. So I'm curious, before you got started to work with Generation, right? I'm sure you had some ideas of what it was like. You knew about it, things like that. What were some of the learnings once you started working for Generation? You were like, oh, wow, I thought it was going to be this way, but it's actually this way. And then was there like a time where you learned something like, oh, I need to pivot. I need to do something different. Any kind of examples like that?
Many insights. I'm just trying to think which would be the most relevant and also that come to mind now. So one would be that we, I think, are leading in many ways in some areas as an organization. And one is actually online learning. So I come from a background which I'm self-motivated. I like to learn. But even in my case, I always find it difficult to finish online courses.
Yes, that's
And
very hard.
statistically, most
Totally.
people don't.
Most
I think
people
only
don't. Yep.
20%.
Yep.
In the best cases, they finish whatever free certificate or paid one they register for.
Yeah.
Once a generation during the pandemic, I had this incredible aha moment that we were actually much more offline even for tech roles before the pandemic. And then out of a sudden, like many other organizations, we
Yeah.
had to transform overnight to become, for at least a year and a half, fully online.
Yeah.
And I saw my incredible colleagues in the online learning team, Kelly Casaro, Matt Constantine, the leaders in our team doing great work on learning, how they actually managed to do this transition in the nick of time. And in terms of graduation rates, which was, I told you, like around
Yeah.
now the average is 85%, I think that only dropped to 2 or 3% less, so like 82 to 83,
Yeah.
even though we moved everything to online. So I realized that we actually have figured something out to do online learning right. And we actually never went back to fully offline.
Oh.
Now we do, as I said, hybrid.
Hybrid. Yeah.
And some programs even mostly online
Yeah.
because we figured out how to do it. The key sauce, and I already mentioned it, is mentors. Having mentors closely involved in the program, supporting our learners throughout, even if it's just online, as I said. And that's one of the ways we do it. And there's multiple others. And one other insight is that our work, and I think I kind of knew this probably from before, even from my work at Google, that you need multi-stakeholder partnerships to be successful in
Yes.
reskilling large
100%.
numbers of people.
Yes.
We started as an NGO working with other NGOs in the private sector, and we soon came to realize that we need governments.
Yeah.
We need their incredible infrastructures that they're not fully leveraging to really change more lives than we currently do.
Yeah.
And then that's why now in India, in the UK, in Singapore, we work hand in hand with the government to help them make their work even better and more efficient, and at the end of the day, to impact more people than they have currently.
Well, that's incredible learnings. I love that. That's great. Thanks for sharing. So we are at WISE, right? And here they're talking about creative fluency, human flourishing in the age of AI. So my question to you is, sorry, as some guys like moving the table right next to us, super loud. My question to you is, when you think about that, right, the age of AI, how does that impact your work and what do you do? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we see AI as an opportunity. So we're actually now piloting, if I'm not mistaken, 6 internal projects to see how we can use AI on actually 3 angles. First, to improve our job matching process of how we match our graduate companies.
Cool.
Another one is for micro learning, how we can help our curriculum and design team better design content.
Yeah.
And the other one is focus on providing not just our human mentors that we, as I said, already provide as much as we can to each person in going through our program, but also having an AI-powered career coach.
Yes.
The sort of Salman Khan's idea. I mean, he popularized it of having a tutor in every classroom or in every home.
Yep.
We're trying at a much smaller scale to do something like this, and we're currently piloting it.
Yeah.
And that's on the generation side. Personally, and this is where I come with my outside activities, which are actually focused a lot on AI and how AI is impacting both work and education. I see the biggest risk we face now with ChatGPT when it comes to education is for ChatGPT-like tools to do what Google has done to our memories, but in ChatGPT's case, to our thinking.
Interesting.
Why is that? Because ChatGPT, the best way to use it currently is writing.
Yeah.
It can write for you pretty good, from poetry to essays.
Yeah.
If you put this, and it's already been put in the hands of children, people who are under the age of 18, they get used to it and they see it as an end to a goal, like a means to an end. Sorry, it's, I need to do this homework so I can spend more time with my colleagues or my friends or family.
Yeah.
Let's just ask ChatGPT to do it. And, forget about putting too much time into it.
Yeah.
Because in some cases, or in most cases, neither the family or the professors are helping them see that that's an exercise. The writing component is an exercise that will help them think better, think more deeply.
Yeah.
And what we currently see and I see it as a huge risk of ChatGPT replacing our need to write, and that kind of at least circumvents a bit our need to think deeply about things. Because one of the things that happens in writing is you stay with the problem for longer than you would by just speaking about it.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's, for me personally, the biggest risk. But at Generation, as I said, we mostly see it as an opportunity that help us improve our current offering.
Gotcha. Okay, great. So tell me about what's going to happen in the future for Generation. What do you guys got coming up? Plans? I know you want to expand, but touch upon that a little bit more.
Yeah, speaking of expansion, actually, for us, of course, our goal is to help even more people globally. We're actually just now close to celebrating our 100,000 graduates since our inception, which is around 9 years ago.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And very importantly for us, because we're in the employment business, is we are close to reaching also, by the end of the year, we will reach it, based on our estimates, $1 billion in wages earned by our graduates.
That's
so these
awesome.
people are making 3 or 4x times the income they had in their previous job before being unemployed and joining a generation program. So these are things we care about to give access to more people to our programs. And how we do it, we're even actually doing something about it already, which is to launch programs that we call Generation Direct.
Okay.
For us, the biggest cost now to launch a program in, let's say, maybe Qatar Foundation is doing quite a good job. Maybe not Qatar. Let's say in Lebanon or even in Palestine now, because there's a need
Yeah.
for programs
Mhm.
like this.
Mhm.
The biggest cost is actually the cost of like the cost of infrastructure and human
yeah.
resources.
Yep.
So we launched Generation Direct, which is a program piloted now in Colombia and Ghana, which
Hmm.
has actually a project manager in some cases based there or based somewhere in the region that manages a team of partners that implements a program
Yeah.
without actually having the need for having an office space or actually a big team. We
Yeah.
work with basically third parties that are managed by that good generation hired project manager.
Yeah.
And very importantly, this would also be very helpful for many people living in developing countries. And we're piloting this in Ghana and in Colombia to prepare people for freelance jobs.
Mm.
Because if you speak about AI, it's more of a fad, to be honest. And I researched this topic. AI skills are not needed for most jobs nowadays. Maybe even less than 10% of jobs have AI skill requirements
Yeah,
in their
yeah.
job description.
Yeah.
But there are other skills that maybe are more common, or you hear more about, like cloud engineering skills
Mhm.
or digital marketing, that even if they're more common in developed countries, in developing ones, you might teach somebody these skills and they would not have enough opportunity locally. So we launched this program of placing people in developed countries in jobs that are freelance jobs in developing
Oh,
ones.
gotcha.
And sorry, developed
Gotcha.
ones. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
North America, Europe, providing jobs for countries living in less fortunate regions of the
Yeah.
world in terms of economic opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. So, last question for you. What do you see as the future of education?
The sort of utopic future or dystopian future?
Whatever you want to take it, however you want to take it, your call.
So I think for me the future of education is kind of going back to what education used to be if you go back to ancient Greece, which was a lot based on Socratic dialogue, which is
Really?
just conversating
You're going
about
way
things.
opposite of whatever. I
Yeah,
love that.
because I feel like so much speak about the latest
Interesting.
digital and tech skills, but at the end of the day, what will make every child, man, woman,
Yeah,
older worker, older
Yeah.
person successful is human skills.
yeah,
In the age of AI, as Jeffrey Sachs said yesterday, what should we focus on?
Yeah.
Human intelligence, no?
Yeah.
Because AI can do the high level analytical
Yeah.
stuff much better. So going back to the roots of having a good dialogue with somebody, collaborating,
yeah,
critically thinking and analyzing things
Yeah.
that maybe ChatGPT spits out and it hallucinates.
yeah,
Just being creative.
Yeah.
These are things that we can be aided by these new technologies, and we can do even better. But we should focus on teaching kids, yes, the basic digital skills, but still these human values that will be relevant regardless of what new ChatGPT like technologies comes about. These are the transferable skills that I hope education could provide to kids around the world.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Very interesting. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard from. Let me make sure I got the name. David Timis. Yes,
Very good. Yes.
Global Communications and Public Affairs Manager at Generation. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, with that, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.